Welcome viewers, this is Daily Politics on Trust TV. I am Hamza Idris. Welcome back. We still have in the studio Dr. Umar Ardo, a chieftain of SDP and a former ally of President Buhari. We deliberately brought him today because he has a lot to share with us. Were you at the Eagle Square? Let's start from that, Doctor.
No, I wasn't.
Why?
I wasn't invited, so I don't want to get crushed in anything that I was not invited.
Buhari did not invite you to accompany him to hand over?
No. President Buhari did not. I spoke with President Buhari last on the 28th of March 2015, on the day of his election, in 2015. That was the last communication I had with him.
Nothing more since then?
Nothing more, in spite of the fact that I initiated his fourth contest.
We are going there maybe later. What is your take on the handing over between former President Buhari and President Tinubu?
Well, for me, I'm very happy. I'm very happy that the 8 gruesome years of President Buhari has come.
Wow, you are describing it as gruesome.
Yeah, they are. For me, in my state, in the country generally, and especially peoples of northern Nigeria, and as a Fulani man. As a Fulani man, the Fulani people, we have never had it so bad in the history of the Fulanis in Nigeria since. Because everything is being heaped on the Fulanis as a result of one misstep or the other by the president.
We're talking about stereotype now and stigmatization.
Yes, the Fulanis have been stigmatized mainly on account of Buhari's leadership. And that has affected us a lot. It has affected me. It has affected a lot of Fulani communities in the rural areas. It has affected the relationship between the Fulanis and other people of Nigeria. And that is why when this election was, when the campaigns for these elections were being prosecuted, a lot of the Fulanis came up and said that we will support, the Bola Tinubu candidacy against, Atiku's candidacy.
Atiku is Fulani.
Yeah.
Buhari is Fulani. Fulani.
That is the reason why I'm saying that in order not to suffer, what happened during the Buhari period, the Fulanis, majority of them deliberately decided to pitch their tent with Bola Tinubu, who is not a Fulani man, against a Fulani man, Atiku, because they don't want to, inherit
a carryover
of what happened, to them on their Fulani leadership.
Is it that they have this feeling that Atiku will not be anything different from Buhari?
Well, no, they really want to make a point that, look, we are not what you think we are. That, for example, like me,
yes,
in 2007, around 2006, after we were relieved of our appointments in the Obasanjo regime, I initiated, and I thought it's best to have South-South president.
This was 2007.
That was 2007. Let us have South-South president. And so I initiated.
That was immediately after Obasanjo?
Yeah, that is Obasanjo's transition.
Yes.
In Obasanjo's transition, my projection was, let us go for a Southerner.
After Southwesterner. After
Southwesterner. Now, I distinguish Obasanjo's presidency between military and civilian. While most people saw Obasanjo's presidency as a Southern democratic president, a Christian democratic president, I saw it as a military president.
Wow.
That the military came, took over power, committed a lot of atrocities, and these atrocities resulted into serious political problems for the country, especially with regards to June 12th. And so in order to resolve the problems that they created, they now brought in their own military man, Obasanjo, from the Southwest, and then a Christian. I was saying to our northerners especially, is that I want people to realize that we are the North, Northern People's Congress,
Yeah.
and Niger Delta Congress.
Yes.
Northern People's Congress under Ahmadu Bello, and Niger Delta Congress under Chief Harold Dapper Brie. They were the only political parties that gained independence in 1960 as allies. Because after Northern Nigeria gained self-government in March 1959, by March 1960, there was an alliance between the Niger Delta Congress and the Northern People's Congress.
Yes.
And which brought in Harold Dapper Brie. That was why Harold Dapper Brie became the first, chairman of council of Ahmadu Bello University. And that was why Milford Okilo was the parliamentary secretary to the Prime Minister Abubakar Tafawa Balewa. So by 1960,
to strengthen the alliance.
Yes, by October 1960, when we gained independence, we went into independence as allies. Now, I was saying to our Northerners in 2006, look, instead of us to continue saying that power should return to the North in 2000, power should return to the North, why don't we in the North use our numerical strength, our numerical superiority, our voting strength to now bring our allies, the Southerners. And that was how we came up with the idea of reciprocating traditional alliance. That was the slogan of Peter Odili's presidency, reciprocating traditional alliance. And we had a lot of support in the North. So that if we had, a Southerner had won in 2007, these things, these invectives against the North, especially the House of Fulani, that you are born to rule, you just want to manipulate power, you are power monger, all these things wouldn't have happened.
But there was only an interlude of 2 years, Doctor, if you look at it. Despite the fact that Obasanjo did not allow that to happen, when he gave it to Yar'Adua lasted for less than 3 years.
Not in the same conditions.
Yeah, but they got it.
No, but not in the same conditions. Because in 2010, when President Goodluck Jonathan took over power, it was not as if the North handed it over to him.
It was by providence.
It was by providence. And it created problem between, in fact, Jonathan presidency virtually broke the North South-South alliance. It virtually broke it.
He created friction?
Not him.
Okay,
but the circumstances of the politics created this. And that was it. And so that is why led us to this position, Tinubu's presidency. Now, the little role I played was now to shift this alliance. Since the alliance between the North and the South-South did not go, now shift this alliance to do an alliance between the North and the Southwest.
Okay, how did you do that? Does it have anything to do, because you tweeted recently, and I want to quote it to set our conversation, that, because I found it a bit controversial. You said, and I quote, Buhari became president at his 4th contest after 3 unsuccessful attempts. To that extent, and to the limits of claims, he owes his presidency to me, that is you. In that the idea of the formation of the APC and his 4th contest was mine, yours, right? I also convinced him to start it and got it working. I don't want to quote more, but you cited a certain IGP who warned you against doing what you intended to do. Can you shed more light on this vis-a-vis the foundation you laid on the collapsed alliance between the North and South-South?
Okay, now, we all know President Buhari contested 3 times.
Yeah.
He contested in 2003 under ANPP and lost.
Yeah.
He contested in 2007, still under NPP, and lost. And then he now left ANPP and contested and formed a new political party, CPC, and contested under CPC.
Which was formed by Senator Rufai Hanga. We had him 3 days ago.
Well, whatever it is but what President Buhari told me was that those responsible for the formation of CPC, he said that after his second contest in 2007, he brought in his people and said to them that it's over for me. I will not contest again. He told them. Then he said that 12 people came to him later, led by Nasir El-Rufai, the former Kaduna State governor, and Jana Jafaru Issa, a former military governor to Kaduna State. That 12 of them came, they met him, they now came up with the proposition that convinced him, to accept to contest again, but not under NPP, but to form a new political party, CPC, and contest under that. He accepted. He called in those people that he worked with in the NPP's people, and then informed them of this new decision. But they have agreed, along with them and with Rufai and the rest, that he gave them two conditions. One, if we lost in 2011, it will be the third and final time I will not contest again. Nobody will come and approach me again. They agreed that if we lost in 2011, that we will not also go to tribunal, having gone to tribunal 2 times, and that nothing came out of it. They agreed. I was not a party to that.
Oh, you weren't a party to that?
At all. I was in my PDP.
Okay.
I was fighting my governorship in PDP. Then I took PDP to court.
11 times or 12 times, something
11
like that.
times,
Yeah.
I took PDP, that was the first one, I took PDP to court, and PDP, my case was struck out.
Yeah.
Immediately my case was struck out in, I think it was in January or February 2011, PDP in Adamawa State dismissed me from the party.
Yeah.
Which was wrong. And I now took them to court. I took them to court again. Now, I felt that PDP was drifting this, it was taking this country into drift.
Welcome back. You followed the elections right from inception. Was it January 2022 up to the election, whether it will hold or it will not hold? The elections over. Inauguration also over. Are you happy? Let me start this way.
I think that the elections it's come and gone, maybe in some quarters, and I think it's a mixed bag. It's not doomed the way many people project it to actually be. There were successes, there were challenges in these elections. At least we saw a lot of upsets that previously were not possible. When you look at the National Assembly elections, we now have a National Assembly with 8 political parties.
8, yeah.
Yes, unprecedented.
Have we ever had something like that?
Nothing like that since the return to 24 years of democracy, which gives us a tablecloth of parties, and is actually making the ruling party not to be the majority party in the National Assembly today.
Especially the House of Reps.
Especially the House of Reps, where they don't have the majority currently. And I think that's like inspiring. It's also inspiring in the sense that it tells us that even the voters we claim are often not literate, they don't identify symbol, are able to identify the symbol of some of these parties, which shows us the sophistication of an average voter in this country, and kudos to them, where in spite of all the challenges, they turn out to vote and vote for people they believe could actually win. We saw 5-time member unseated. We saw governors unseated.
Is it 33-year-old, for instance, in
Kano?
In
Kano, Kaduna.
Many cases there in Zamfara. I mean, in Sokoto also.
You saw like 7 governors who have actually made the Senate to be their retirement home defeated. In fact, what is even fascinating is that in some of those states, they did not lose the states. They actually, if I take Cross River as an example, it was the governor, Ben Ayadi, that lost his senatorial seat. The other candidate actually won.
Can you imagine?
On the platform of APC itself. So you see all these kind of things. We even saw a sitting governor lose in Zamfara. All across the country, there were these pockets of successes. That's what we call it. We saw an Okada rider actually win a seat.
Yeah, really. A comrade, student unionist becoming member of the House.
We saw a woman a very young woman in Kwara State win a State House of Assembly
sitting. A volunteer teacher dislodging speaker.
So you see all this kind of things. So there are lots of these positives that we are yet to unpack, that we are yet to highlight about these elections, that should actually make us feel good that 24 years, our democracy is actually maturing in itself.
I am happy this is coming from you as Director Center for Democracy and Development. Now, where do we get it wrong that some people are saying this is the worst election in Nigeria's history? Is it the worst first?
I don't think it's the worst elections, because we have counted the mere fact that even with the way people are saying it's the worst election, they did not go to the street. They went to the courts. It's telling you that it is not the worst, that our democracy is actually maturing. Okay. I think that we had a very huge expectation. For instance, we expected that the polls will commence timely across the country. Yeah. But these polls did not commence timely itself, which raised challenge. You heard one of your listeners speaking about the Naira scarcity.
Yes, we had
Naira scarcity, we had fuel scarcity, we had all this already poisoning the atmosphere ahead of the elections. Then you had the highly contested elections where you will remember when I came to the studio, I said, look, this will be very identitarian in nature in these elections, where you have 3 of the biggest ethnic group in Nigeria fielding candidates itself. And when you look at the vote at the end of the day, you see it was fragmented along ethnic lines. Yeah. You see Atiku Abubakar, for instance, won 5 out of the 6 states in the Northeast where it comes from. The only state it did not win was Borno, which is the state of the presidential candidate of the APC, current vice president. He flipped Yobe, which has always voted AD, ANPP, CPC. He flipped it when you talk in terms of religion. Then you go to the Northwest, they won 4 out of the 7 states in the Northwest, where they are telling you that this Namu thing, of course, is important. And you will see that in the Southwest, Tinubu won 4 of the states. In the Southeast, Obi won 5 out of all these states, winning big, not even giving the other candidate the opportunity to get the 25% in the Southeast. So this nature, of course, and with the challenge and the promise that the INEC result viewing platform is going to work. Even the fact that many people felt that this INEC result viewing platform will start tabulating the result, the IREV, we just see the result automatically like that. Many did not even understand that it will just be snapped picture. It's like
you scan
this page. And you put all the. So a lot of expectation was put onto the elections. And because these expectations were not met, it dampened the morale of some people.
But this has not actually
taken away all the positives in the elections. And you see, one thing we rarely talk about these elections is that there is so much fixation on the presidential elections, which occurred at the same time with the National Assembly elections. There is so much fixation with it that we have not even been able to go to do a deep dive into the other elections to see that there are indeed some good things that have actually come out of these elections. And because of a lot of cyberbullying, the ethnicization of the contest also, it takes courage to sit and say that, oh, these elections, there was something good in these elections.
And I hope that Nigerians learn this maybe before 2027. But fast forward, Hidayat, the president has been inaugurated, governors in 28 states. Now, looking at the caliber of people that came for the inauguration from UK, from US, India, all these countries, is this a validation?
I think it is. I think yesterday, I think after the elections is over, we are now in the business of governance, really, and all patriotic Nigeria should actually focus on governance, how it will deliver to us, while we continue to keep an eye on what is happening in the judiciary, because it's part of electoral justice to pursue justice till the end. So but a new government has come into place, and you can see that the president of the United States of America, Joe Biden, actually issued a statement yesterday to congratulate the new president, Bola Ahmed Tinubu.
Yes.
And he actually has sent the biggest delegation since his assumption of office, a 10-man delegation for this.
Compared to the one he sent to any other
country since for this inauguration, which I think is big. The King, Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, the King Charles also has sent congratulatory messages. You saw that India was actually represented by their defense minister itself. Most of our West African neighbors were present for the inauguration, really, which talks really about, look, this is Nigeria. Nigeria is really important for the world. Nigeria is not just important for Africa, it's important for the world. And I think as a nation, we will keep keeping our eyes on what is happening in the judiciary, because we will not at any point take away people's right to pursue justice, electoral justice.
I saw some postings on Twitter, Instagram. Some people, we all call them bullies, right? Twitter bullies or what, trolls and all that, saying with the kind of delegation that witnessed the swearing in of Tinubu, the best option for those that have gone to court is to calmly go there overnight, withdraw the files, and wait for 2027.
No. That will mount. That is denying people of justice. And at no time should we say that people should not pursue justice. They have to pursue justice because it also gives room for closure. It's most times in the world. In fact, if you look at most of the countries where we have had challenges, in West Africa in particular, it's all been as a result of fractious elections and where they feel that justice was not actually served. So if you look at the Francophone system, once they go to the elections, once elections are held, they will be validated by the Constitutional Court. Once a win is validated by the Constitutional Court, that is the end.
So what we are witnessing in Nigeria is not actually strange.
It's not strange. So we are waiting to ensure. It's not strange, actually. This is not the first time, with the exception of 2015. Every election, when President Goodluck Jonathan did not challenge the elections in court, every election since 1999 has actually been challenged in court. Olufalaye and Obasanjo, Buhari and Obasanjo, Buhari and Yar'Adua, then from Buhari and Yar'Adua, Buhari and Jonathan, then none. Then in 2019 we had Buhari and Atiku Abubakar, and it's not. And
now we have Buhari. I mean, we have
Tinubu and Atiku, Tinubu and Obi, and Tinubu and APM.
So it's there are even others from the so-called banana.
Yes, exactly. So it's nothing new. It is what we strive for. It is what we beg for. It is what is actually showing a deepening of our democracy. That these leaders, in the person of former President Atiku Abubakar, did not tell his supporters to go to the street and start destroying things. Like a former governor, Obi, with his young supporters, the obedient, did not go to the street. They pursued the court, whatever their thought might actually be, and be really. So these elections represent different things to different people in different parts of the country. In some parts of the country, people are very happy. In some part of the country, they are not even interested in the top, which is the president. They are looking at the bottom. So they are looking. So it represents, and in other parts, they are busy jubilating and saying, "Oh, our time has come. Oh, this is our time. We are the something." And we really have to take the elections one after the other. So if you look at the governorship elections, for instance, and you even look at the violence compared to the presidential elections, they are not.
There is progress. Welcome back. If you are just joining, you are watching Daily Politics on Trust TV. Do well to follow us across all our social platforms on Facebook, Instagram, and watch us live on YouTube. Still have in the studio Dr. Hakim Baba Ahmed, retired Permanent Secretary and Director of Advocacy, Northern Elders Forum. Welcome back.
Thank you.
You were actually maybe reading another speech that Tinubu ought to have read, authored by you. Well, but I found it curious because as Director of Advocacy, Northern Elders Forum, you didn't mention anything about the North or the South in your speech. Why?
In a way, I did, without necessarily making reference to the North and South. There were area parts of the speech that emphasized that the need for inclusion will be addressed. The emphasis on doing justice to all parts of the country. And a key part of that speech said, this administration has no favorites and no enemies.
Yeah.
In the speech, and it was a very important part of the speech. He has no favorites.
Is it that the previous administration had favorites of sorts?
Well, I think that is what President Buhari tried to capture in that borrowed comment he made, where he said, we belong to everybody and we belong to nobody.
But was it actually what he displayed during those 8 years? He belonged to nobody and he belonged to everyone?
Well, I said he certainly didn't belong to anybody.
Oh my
I don't
Every other person was a victim.
I don't think, I think he made everyone a victim. Except maybe a handful of people around him. But that's, the real issue is that the kind of leader we need now is the kind of leader who will reintegrate the country.
Okay.
Who would be everybody's president. Who would say, look, it doesn't matter whether you voted for me or not. I'm your president.
Not the 5%.
Yes. No, I hope Tinubu never says that kind of thing.
All right.
Southeast gave me only 5%.
Yes.
So the worst possible thing is he gave them a lot. He gave the Southeast a lot more than 5%.
Okay.
But the one they remember is not the second night the bridge. It's not all the things that he has done in the Southeast. They remember that comment about 5%. Politicians don't say that kind of thing. If other people had become governors, presidents, they won't go around look at these stupid people, look at the little votes they gave me. He is now president of Nigerians. There are parts of Nigeria that voted, he gave me huge millions of votes. And there are parts of Nigeria where I think in the entire Southeast, I don't know what he got, 100,000 votes, if you put them together.
So what is your position? What is the position of the Northern elders on the equation now? Because it's like there is serious debate, especially in relation to the National Assembly. Where do you belong?
Well, we think that, first of all, the principle that the legislature is an independent arm, is an arm of government on its own.
So
and should be allowed as much as possible to decide its leaders.
You think Tinubu and those around him went overboard by selecting Akpabio and Jibrin Barrow as Senate President, Deputy Senate President, and then Tajuddin as Speaker, Kalu as
I don't know whether Tinubu is directly involved or not, but whether he is or not, the point is this. The legislature is an arm of government, not independent, related to the other arms of government, but it has an autonomy which has to be respected.
Okay.
And its integrity is in part reflected in the manner in which it chooses its leaders. Other politicians should respect that. Now, people think we've done our job as voters. We elected them.
But you are leaders of those voters, especially from the north. And that is why I am asking, where should the northern constituency tilt towards? Especially going by the allegation that everything has gone south now. Despite the fact that we have the vice president.
There are northern senators. Okay. There are northern members of the House of Reps.
Yes.
They are as northern as I am. And so they can apply the same concern about the position of the North. Substantially, the North can claim to have created this presidency. And we will be right. The figures will show it.
You also agree to that?
It's not that I agree.
63%.
It's not that I agree. Everybody knows the votes that gave Tinubu the presidency substantially were northern votes. I once somewhere said that the North holds the power to decide who becomes president.
And I think you became a serious victim. Well, I remember people all the bashing, like the trolls.
They thought I was being arrogant because I said
the North can decide.
The North, the power resides in the North.
Yes.
They didn't. I think part of the problem at that time, people didn't even bother to find out what I meant.
Okay.
And also, you remember, it was at the time where northern governors were ganging up to say to the entire north, we don't want a single one of you to even aspire to be governor.
Yes, that's Southern Governors, yeah.
Yes, Southern Governors Forum.
Yes.
And saying no northerner
Nobody
should
from
even
the
contest, should even aspire to contest.
And you dared them.
Yes, we dared them, and we won that war. We said, no, you can't do that. Well, show us in the Constitution where a northerner cannot contest. And there is nowhere in the Constitution. So you cannot do that. What you can do is to insist that the law is respected. That is to say, the Nigerian voter will ultimately decide, and that the Nigerian voter is all Nigerians.
Yeah,
they can decide who they want.
Yes.
If they want a northerner, they can vote for a northerner. If they want a southerner, they can vote for a southerner. But you cannot say that a whole part of the country should become spectators and just remain and leave it to the south. And look at, in the end, what happened.
Yeah.
The two leading contenders,
from the north,
at least at this stage of the litigation or whatever,
yes,
we just swore in a southerner in the last 4-5 days, a southerner, who got most of his votes from the north. The northerners are not stupid.
So what do they start to gain, or what are you bargaining for them now?
First of all, we got what we wanted. That is to say, we got a president that we voted for.
Okay, you are satisfied with that?
Of course, you have to be satisfied. You have to respect the right of the voter to decide. All these millions are made up of single voters who walk from their homes or wherever to go and cast a vote.
So what are your demands now as elders from the president in terms of maybe power sharing, in terms of economic advancement, in terms of addressing insecurity? Because you listed some of these things in your speech.
In the speech that Tinubu did.
Yes, the speech.
We don't want to make demands. If we have to make demands, it will be the same demands that all elders will make. Okay. Justice. Be just to all sections of Nigerians. Okay. Be fair to everybody. Those who voted for you, those who didn't vote for you, are all Nigerians. They were exercising their rights to vote for you or to vote for somebody else. So no section of the country should pay a price for not voting for you. That's the first thing. Okay. The second thing is that we, in the Northern Elders Forum, our position is that we will support President Tinubu.
Okay, you have resolved to support President
We
Tinubu.
released a statement congratulating him and saying we will work with him. There's no reason why we shouldn't. He's the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria as we speak.
But in the event he attempts to boycott the North, what do you think will happen?
Well, we hope he would not. And we believe that...
Because this is the fear, honestly, that many people are entertaining. And that is why a section of the North is insisting of having leadership of the National Assembly, both the Senate President and the Speaker. And I think, I don't know why they are entertaining that fear. Is it justified for them to entertain that fear?
I think it is the wrong politics to apply to say, if just because you have the Senate presidency or the Speaker, then you will guarantee that the interest of the North will be protected. Because, look, we went for 8 years, the Senate president on the 8th Senate where I worked with Senator Saraki. They didn't get along, and you had an APC government. Saraki and President Buhari.
Yes, you were his chief of staff. Yeah.
For part of the time.
Okay, part of, yeah.
Yeah, but I don't think you should measure or worry about that. At this stage, we want to work with the government of President Tinubu. We want to support him. We want him to support him to succeed. We believe he can succeed. We believe he should succeed, not just for the North, but for the whole of Nigeria. Because the truth about it, Hamza, is that when we speak like Northern Elders Forum or Haneze or Feniperi, we tend to think we live in cubicles. We don't. The problems of the North are the problems of Nigerians. And when people are told, in their millions, to sit at home on a Monday not come out. And if they come out, they would either be killed or molested. And the whole Monday is wasted because people are sitting at home. The country pays the price for it. It's wrong, and it should not happen. It should not be tolerated. And that is why I was saying in that speech,
yes,
the rule of law will apply in every inch of this country. So if there is anybody who is entertaining the idea that what prevailed under President Buhari, for 2 or 3 years, IPOB and ESN were keeping people at home on Mondays.
So do you think Tinubu...
And that kind of thing is wrong.
Do you think Tinubu will actually summon the courage to address some of these issues?
He had better. Let me tell you the truth.
Okay.
Of all the things he needs courage to do, it is to fight insecurity. And what you're seeing happening this Monday, boycotting Monday, is actually a sign of the weakness of the Nigerian state. And the Nigerian state must be strengthened to enforce the rule of law all over the country.
Welcome back. Dr. Dapel, if you can hear me, I said, okay, what should we expect from a new government from Nigerian perspective?
So I would like to frame this question based on the past 2 governments before this new government. And that's to look at some numbers. And what do I mean by that? There are some numbers about the economy that you can use to assess the health of the economy. You don't have to be an expert. Any layperson should use those numbers to access the economy. So I don't know if those graphs are ready. Can he put them up so I can just make some few comments about...
Sure, go ahead. Yeah, fine. We have it now. The average living standard in Nigeria, yeah.
Okay, so the average living standards, inflation rate, GDP per capita, our total external debt, including variables also such as unemployment rate. If we see the rate of these numbers in 2014, comparing with 2021, there is a massive difference. And so based on this, I would expect 2 things from this new government. Number 1, the government should reverse these numbers and take us to the levels we were in 2014.
How do you mean, Doctor?
The unemployment rate in 2014 was roughly 6%. Now it's 35%. We want them to take us back to 6%. And the same thing with the exchange rate. It was 160 something, and now it's over 400 official rate. We want them to take us back to the pre-Buhari numbers. That's the first thing we expect from them. And the second thing is they should improve on the numbers in 2014 so that by the time they are out of power, we would have an economy that is better than what it was in 2014. I think that's the expectation of many Nigerians, and I'm one of such Nigerians.
But how possible is it to now revert to 2014? I think in other climes, people look forward, they don't look backwards. What is the interpretation of what you said?
So what you had in the past, you thought it wasn't great, and so you explore options for greater opportunities in the future. But somehow, in the process of navigating the future, you made mistakes, and the outcome was worse than the outcome you were trying to run away. So the best thing to do is to find out what was wrong and try to redirect your path to get a better economy. But no matter what will happen, if this government wants to perform, it has to follow through that path, because that's the only path that will take the economy to where. Because if you want to give Nigerians better economy, you have to pass through these numbers by bringing them down.
So is it that the previous government, officials of the government, were not unmindful of this data that you reel out, and they now say they are living Nigeria better than they met it in 2015? Yeah.
So there is one thing, there are 2 things here. One is numbers, and second is politicians.
Okay.
Politicians can lie, but numbers do not. Facts that are unvarnished, they don't lie. And we try to rely on facts. And the thing is, when researchers focus on facts, sometimes it's favored the governments in power, and they praise what you say. And when the facts are against their expectations, they see you as a critic or a doomsayer.
Yeah.
So, but these are numbers and they're undisputed.
Now, what lesson do you think President Tinubu should learn? Is it that the previous government did not get it right at the initial stage, or they deliberately allowed things the way they went throughout the 8-year administration?
So let me share my perspective here on why the economy went off the rails from 2014. There were some mistakes made, right?
Okay.
But these mistakes, they precipitated a problem that were beyond the powers of the president. So one of such mistakes was, how do we respond to changes in oil price?
Okay.
The president of the country cannot determine global oil price because Nigeria's output, share of output in total output is roughly 2%. So it doesn't have market power or price, right?
Yes.
So you have to take oil price as given. The price of oil, Nigerian economy has been riding off the back of it for decades. So whatever happens to the price of the oil is transmitted into the economy directly. But how we respond to that either diminishes the problem or amplifies the problem. And in 2015, 2016, the way we responded to crashing oil prices precipitated the problem, and we're still struggling to break free from that deadlock.
Yeah. Now, is it that oil is the determinant of how Nigeria's economy will fare, or there are other variables before we go deep into the arithmetics of oil politics?
Yeah, there are two things. The oil price, that's number one. And number two are the leaders who are the custodians of the oil wealth. Okay. The oil wealth belongs to the entire country, but the leaders that we elect and those that are appointed into government offices as bureaucrats, they are in charge of our national resources. So if they manage it very well, we would see changes. If they don't, we will still see changes that are unexpected.
So is it that the previous government did not manage the issues around the oil very well that we got to where we are now?
Yeah, so in fairness, so let me share some facts here that may appear contradictory. First, the president, when the price of oil crashed and he took over power, he initiated a foreign exchange rate policy that was not helpful. Okay. Because he shut access to foreign currency and activated capital control, so it became difficult for Nigerians to access Forex, even within the country and outside the country. Thousands of industries shut down because they couldn't access factors of production like raw materials from abroad and capital goods. And these companies, they shutted down thousands of jobs and they left the country. That's one. But in fairness to the president, relationship with the rest of the world. Wow. Because money stolen through corruption in Naira were being converted to the dollar for onward movement to overseas. And so when he blocked the access to the dollar, those monies were forced to remain in the country. Yeah. But how they went about it was devastating and not helpful to the economy. And this is what I think. Had the government at the time of taking power in 2015 assemble a team of people and, have collaboration with those in the outgoing government and head to Washington direct to the IMF, the World Bank, and say, give us emergency loan, replenish our depleted reserves to defend our currency before we face the pieces of the day. That may have averted Nigeria's two recessions, and also the Naira would have been shielded from the crash it is going through. That's what I think.
All right. I'm going to put two questions in one, and I don't know how we are going to answer them. Now, just yesterday, oil subsidy has been removed. Is it really a step in the right direction? And then the price they put, even though they say it will keep fluctuating depending on market forces, but now people are buying at NNPC outlets from 530 upwards. If you go to other independent marketers, you can buy it up to 600. We're talking about in Abuja and environs. But if you go up north, maybe Maiduguri, or you go Sokoto, only God knows how much you will buy a liter. Now, is this a step in the right direction?
I will not stand on the fence on this one. I'm a big fan of subsidy removal, but I'm not a fan at all of how it is being removed in the Nigerian context.
Okay.
So why do I support the removal? Subsidy regime in Nigeria, corruption has been the hallmark of it. And removal of it will quash the avenue for government and its officials to fleece the Nigerian people through the oil industry. So removing it, it's the best option. In fact, there was a story, three of us, we published a paper, but substantial part of the work came from Dr. Babatunde Omotosho. He's currently a principal economist at the CBN. In fact, part of what he did won awards at the University of Glasgow as the best thesis. So the facts that are contained, they are very reliable. And the conclusion from this story was that whether you take the subsidy or you don't, it doesn't have significant change on our inflation rate, on our output, or our exchange rate, and many other variables. So, but if corruption fits through that, then why not take it off? And why do I say I'm a bad fan of subsidy removal approach that the Nigerian government is putting forward? Now, no buyer wants to pay higher price for the same product. No buyer. So Nigerians believe once the subsidy is removed, it will trigger up prices of many goods and services.
Yeah.
And they want to pay for that because the petroleum products, they are factors of production in the consumption of the production and consumption of other goods and services. Transportation, I don't know if you go to the barber, you will tell you if you're barbing with a generator, you pay this price. If you're barbing with a NEPA, you pay a lower price, and so on and so forth. You're traveling from Lagos, Kaduna to Abuja, you pay different fares in periods when the pump price is high and low. So that's the fear of Nigerians and is roundedly justified. So the best way to remove the subsidy, in my view, is to improve our power sector and improve our transport sector so that when the subsidy is removed, there will be least reliance on generators to power businesses, and therefore you've taken off the cost of production coming from the subsidy removal.
Welcome back. Alhaji Musa Ameti, I think I should start with you as the president of Nigeria Association of Auctioneers. Yeah. How did you receive the inauguration of President Bola Tinubu? And also, it's a double-barrel question, his first step, the decision he has taken on petroleum.
So, I would like to welcome our viewers to this important program. And Alhamdulillah, so far so good. And on the inauguration, we've congratulated the President, Alhaji Bola Tinubu, on several occasions, on or before the...
Okay, since he won the election.
Since he won the election, we've been talking about his leadership qualities, and we welcome him to the field. And
a rough one indeed, right?
A rough one indeed. We are all Nigerians, so we know what our country is. And as you said, the first step, they said first cut is the deepest. And
okay.
And this issue of, I'm sure you want to talk about the issue of subsidy and so.
Yeah, subsidy removal. Subsidy now a liter 530. I don't know how much is it in Bauchi or in Maiduguri. Some said 700 and all.
Sure, I wouldn't want to talk about maybe other places.
Yes.
Let me talk about where I reside, and that is the FCT. I have not gone to take fuel since this brouhaha has started, so I wouldn't want to comment on how much a liter is in the filling stations. But what I discovered recently, yesterday and today, the queue has reduced drastically, unlike the first day that the new system was announced. So for that reason, I think the euphoria will go away if we are patient, and if you don't travel out of this country, you wouldn't know what it is. Okay. So to be very frank with you, I don't want to say that we are having it so cheap and so easy. Okay. But when you travel out of, just go to places like our neighboring countries like Niger,
Cameroon, Chad,
Benin, and all
Ghana.
These things. Go and find out. Sometimes it's even better for you to go and buy the fuel in black market than to go and buy it in the filling station, because
in neighboring countries.
In neighboring countries, because mostly the fuel is smuggled to those countries from our country here, and it's cheaper to buy the smuggled one than to buy the official one at the official rate. So. But to Nigerians, it's a new thing, mostly to those that don't travel out of this country. But I can tell you that if you are used to traveling out of this country, you know that anywhere you go in this world, even in Saudi Arabia, fuel is not as cheap as Nigeria.
So is it a step in the right direction, what the president did?
If you go back to history, if you look at during late Abacha's time,
yes,
you find out that he decided to increase the price of fuel, and he now established PTF.
Yeah, Petroleum Trust Fund, headed by the immediate past president.
Yeah. And we knew what happened at that time. We knew what they did with the money. That was the increase in fuel. So we hope, personally, I hope the president is going to do the same thing. If he has to remove the subsidy, let's see it on ground. Let's see what he's going to do there.
All right. Anas, yes, you share with Musa, because I can see clearly where he is heading to. That tough decision must be taken, right?
Of course.
So that Nigeria will be fine.
Exactly.
Do you agree with what he said, or is wrong approach by President Tinubu?
No, it is not a wrong address by the President Tinubu.
Okay.
Is it Malam Musa, your name?
Hamza, yeah.
You know, in a politics, there is many things in a leader that are supposed to do. What Tinubu has did is right. You know, this sometimes that they say the subsidy for oil, it is used to go for some people. Not all the people in Nigeria are benefiting in that subsidy. So what he did is right. Me, I'm supporting of what he did.
Wow. So you are on the same page.
Yes.
Yes. You mentioned something, because many Nigerians are really confused, and it's like, of course, PTF days. Many years now.
The good old days.
Yes. Many young generation, they are not even aware of it. And it was just a fraction, I think, the addition that was set aside in a specific account that Buhari was able to turn around all sectors, because there was no sector that did not benefit
all sectors
from that. We were discussing this in the morning. Now, are you saying that there should be something along that line, a replica of PTF to be entrusted in the hands of somebody who can actually replicate what happened those decades?
You see, it might not be the same approach.
Okay.
To be realistic, you know, for you to say they should establish something like PTF, everybody has his own approach.
Because Obasanjo, when he came, he said it is not within the law.
Exactly.
That was what he said, and he scrapped it.
What we are saying basically is that this issue of subsidy, removing the subsidy is just inevitable if we have to be realistic. is just inevitable. There's nothing you can do about it if we have to be realistic. But what we are saying, or this is my personal opinion,
yes,
if the president will use the opportunity of removing the subsidy and do something tangible with the economy and the infrastructure, because everything is decayed. There is no aspect of this, the system that has not collapsed. So everybody, all hands are on deck. Everybody is looking up to him to see what he's going to do with the country. Because to be very fair to the former president, he has done his best. But this is Nigeria for you. It's the most complicated country.
Some are saying his best wasn't enough.
Yeah, you can never please Nigerians. It's not possible. You just do your best and we'll just go. Tell me one president that has been pressed in this country.
Most heroes, they are only praised after they leave. Maybe in the next 1 year. Even though Nigerians generally, or significant number, they are praying that let it be better.
Madam, we are just pessimistic people. That's to say the truth. We are just pessimistic people. And we are always doing the wrong thing. Yeah. What do I mean by that? You see, religiously speaking, if you look at both Christianity and Islam, they said you should be praying for your leaders. Not always cursing them.
And here we don't do that.
And that's what we used to do. Let me give you an example. Assuming you have one of your kids that has derailed, and every day you wake up, you say, what are you going to do with this kind of kid? The more he get hardened. But the moment you and the mother and anybody you know that can help you pray to God to get him back to life, that is what we need to do. And that is what both the scripture says. You should be praying to your leaders. But that is what we don't do in this country. All we know how to do is to find fault in our leaders, criticize our leaders, curse them, and at the end, we pay the price. This is the truth, whether anybody likes it or not. But the way things are in this country as of today, if you have to get it right, you have to step on toes. And like my brother here said, when you talk about the subsidy, it's a scam.